to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Okay. Hi everyone, this is Kira Show here. And I just realized after recording I did not do the essential. I just skipped straight to the battles, and I just realized that after I was basically halfway through recording the video. Now, I have been very busy today. I have been to the DMV. I've spent most of my time there today. I also cleaned our pool, and I had to work on my car, which that was fun. Someone thought I was a psychopath because I just stood in the same spot for 3 hours straight, looking at a TV screen. I was listening to music, but I don't think they noticed my headphones. It was fun. It was pretty funny. Now, aside from that funny note, let us begin the sports festival. Over the past 2 weeks, Deku has been trying to figure out who's talking to him. And he's essentially doing this, and each night he just wakes up from the same dream over and over and over again, which is actually starting to annoy him. Now, during one of his fits of anger, he just screams at himself, "Why can't I talk?" or "Who are you?" As Eri would be able to respond, saying that finally, someone's been able to find her or talk to her, and where is he? Deku's saying that, oh, he's at his house, so... Wait, are you a one-for-all user? What's a one-for-all? Well, that answers that question. Anyways, who are you? My name is Eri, but I'm not sure where I am. Do you know what happened? Or why are you reaching out to me with your quirk? She would say that she's not sure, but it's essentially... Overhaul has been doing all this, and Deku, he just immediately grabs a notebook as she began explaining everything that's happened to her so far, which Deku's actually enraged by. Hearing that essentially they've been draining her of blood, using her for experiments, and actually doing all these things to her. Essentially tearing her body apart to get more blood, and putting her back together. Now, Deku would hear that essentially they don't know what her quirk does, but she has a horn. Which Deku would hear, and he actually finds it pretty interesting, saying that he has a horn also, but that they need to figure out what's going on. So she's giving Deku descriptions of anything she's seen before, or anything she's ever seen. She would describe an alleyway along with probably a street sign, or not a street sign, but like a billboard, saying that was last week. Now, after that happens, he would write down the billboard and what he had read and what it said. And this is whenever Deku would just tell her that he'll help her and he'll actually give this information to All Might or the heroes whenever he can. Now, Eri would actually thank Deku, saying that, okay, she'll be ready for them. As she would say that Overhaul's coming, she has to stop talking now. Which Deku would understand, and would immediately just start thinking of what to do. I hate scam likely calls. Anyway, guys, Deku's looking online, he's trying to figure everything out, and he's even more confused. Because the company he's trying to look for doesn't even exist. And this kind of pisses him off more, as he would get angry and he'd actually just punch a hole through his wall. Now, as soon as he does so, he realizes that he needs to calm down and just try looking more. So, any free time he has, he would either use to train, use his quirk on different things, and experiment more, or just, quite simply, use the internet to try and find more information. Now, after this, let us cut to the sports festival. Deku is giving the speech, and he would immediately say that, well, he would have told All Might about all this information, he would have given it to him, and All Might would have passed it all on to Nezu. So Nezu, the smartest man in UA, would immediately begin looking in and everything. Now, after that, let us begin. Deku, he is giving the speech to everyone in Class 1A, and he's actually doing so. Now, what he would say is, he's glad to see so many inspiring heroes. In fact, he's pretty sure he might be able to name a few pros here, but he doesn't want to waste everyone's time with that. What you're here to see is what the next generation can do. Now, I plan on giving it my all, but can everyone say the same about themselves? You have to go beyond what you think can possibly happen, beyond what your limitations can be. You have to find that barrier and break through it, and you just have to get through the next one. Now, I hope everyone here tries as hard as they can, because I know I won't be holding back. Plus Ultra, as everyone's actually cheering Deku on, and he's actually riled inspiration from everyone. Now then, the race would begin. Todoroki, he would try covering the entire area in ice, and as soon as he does so, Deku would have already broken through it, and he got out. Now, the way he got out was, he's been trying to use rewind in different things, so he used it in his eyes to somewhat slow down the projection of time, so he was actually able to somewhat see the ice coming. But as soon as he saw it, he was able to jump up into the air, which as soon as Bakugo saw him do that, the second he saw Deku's feet leave the ground, Bakugo used an explosion to get off the ground, and Ochako, she would have done the same. Now, everyone's running, and Deku is actually using full cowling at about 35%, and he would immediately just blitz through everything, and he would get to these 3-pointer robots, if not the 0-pointers. As soon as he gets to them, he runs by them, and he actually taps onto their feet, their legs, and what he does is he essentially turns all of the wire inside the robots into sand, which, if you guys don't know, is not good for electricity, making each and every robot blow up. Now, as soon as that happens, President Mike is confused, and he's asking if that kid has a remote detonation quirk, because he seemed to be friends with that other explosive kid, Aizawa mentioned. Aizawa would say that no, he doesn't have a quirk like that. In fact, his quirk would be very hard for people to guess from a first glance. He would ask what he means, and Aizawa would simply say that boy's quirk makes him a human force of nature. In fact, it's quite similar to 13's, in fact, with the fact that it has to do with space and time. Mike would ask what he means, and he would explain that his quirk is essentially rewind. Now, this quirk was given this title because of how vague its abilities are. Deku's been honing. I hate recording problems. Now, Deku would say that, or Deku would come in first, and this is whenever Bakugo would come in behind him. Deku passed in about 28 to 40 seconds, and Bakugo passed in about 2 to about, let's say about 2 to 3 minutes. Now, Deku would actually say to Bakugo that was pretty impressive, but he still has a lot to do to catch up to him. Bakugo would say that he just needs to piss off, as Todoroki would come in third, close behind Bakugo, and Ochako would actually come in fourth. Now, after that happens, this is whenever the cavalry battle will commence, and Froppy and Momo, Froppy, Momo, Ochako, and I want to say May would all actually try and be on Deku's team. As Momo thinks that since Deku can rewind objects, she might actually be able to help Deku's team by creating pencils that he can just turn into giant trees or logs to throw at people. Deku would ask if that's I don't think that that's how that works, as he would actually ask her to make a pencil. She would do so, and Deku would just rewind it, as it would just disappear. Now, she's actually asking what happened to it, or where did it go, and Deku would just say that essentially it was just created, so he rewinded it out of existence. Which she's actually kind of surprised about, asking if he can really do that. Deku would just say yes. And he's actually done that with quite a few apples before, and even a watermelon, which was kind of hard to explain. Because his dad just thought he ate it all. Now, essentially, the team would be Deku, Mei, and Ochako. Deku, Mei, Ochako, and Froppy. Now, Deku just stresses that he can't really get close to Mei, or essentially he can't touch her gear. Because if he does, he might turn it back into raw material. Which she just says that makes sense, so she'll try and keep a good distance. But Deku would just say that all she really needs to do is keep them hovering, or keep herself hovering. Now, Ochako would actually tap on everyone, and Deku's actually a horse. So Sue is actually hovering also, and Deku's actually just running around. He's going at about 35% at his maximum, so he's actually just running around, and everyone's kind of confused as Deku would begin. He begins with he begins by just keeping everyone away from him and doing all that. Anytime someone would get close to him, like that one Monoma guy, Deku would just try rewinding him. And he would actually rewind Monoma to the point where he's a child. But their team would not be disqualified. Because it's basically a bunch of guys holding onto a baby. Now, people are actually watching as Deku's doing this kind of stuff. And Deku's team would eventually win. He would have to rewind Monoma back to his proper age. Show he's still a baby. Just bigger. Now, this is whenever the battles would begin. Deku versus Shinsho. This is whenever he walks into the ring, he just looks at him, and he just thinks that this guy's quirk isn't physical from what he thinks he saw in the counter battle. So he can just try getting him out without using it. As he would actually put his hands up, Shinsho would be confused. He's asking Deku why he's not using his quirk, because of physical combat quirk, right? Do you just like feeling more high and mighty, or is it just because you think that your quirk is so good, you don't need to use it against me? Is that right? Deku's just looking at him funny as he would actually rush toward him and actually punch him out of the ring. If not, push him out of the ring. Now, Shinsho's asking why he didn't talk or what he did. Deku would just say that your quirk's not physical. And from what one of his classmates told him, you brainwashed him or something. So, as he would immediately just stop talking. Shinsho would just release him, saying that it's quite good, but what gave it away? Deku would just say that essentially his quirk, it's not very physical, but if trained properly, you might be able to shut down people without even starting a conversation. Now, just work on that, man. As Deku would walk away from him. Now, Bakugo versus Zero. Yes, I am changing up the timeline even more. This would go a bit similar with... Well, not similar. It never even happened. This would go a bit similar for Sero, where he would try blasting or sliding Baku out of the ring, like he did to Todoroki. But as soon as the wraps around Baku, Sero would have tried flinging it one direction. Baku would have actually blown an explosion the opposite way, essentially making Sero spin in circles, and Baku would end up tying him up in his own tape, as Baku would just kick him over, and he would land on the ring, actually being captured. Which Sero would just call Baku a cheater. Baku would just say, "I did not cheat, tape face or tape farm, whatever, Insert insult here. Please, someone give me a funny insult for that. I would love it." Now, Ibara versus Kaminari. That goes the same with Kaminari losing after getting wrapped up in vines. Mei versus, well, Ida. This would go the same. Mina versus Ochako. Ochako would win after using her jacket as a shield. And actually she would sacrifice it by just putting it in front of her, and anytime Mei threw slime at her, or acid, she would have been able to use the jacket to essentially pile it on. But she would immediately have to throw the jacket away, as she could just punch Mina in the gut and actually just uppercut her. So essentially going for a direct confrontation. Edgelord versus Momo. This would go the same. Tetsu versus Kirishima. This would go with Kirishima winning. And let's see. Todoroki. So Edgelord 2. Oh, I see what I did there. Clever. I didn't even think about that. Edgelord 2 quirks. Jesus. And let's say, yeah, no, I think that could work. Let's say that Monoma actually was able to get into the final battle. So he'd be talking with Todoroki, saying that, oh, looks like at least 3 people from Class 1B actually got in, and a girl from the support class. Class 1A must feel really disappointed, as he would start rushing toward Todoroki. Now he's thinking that he just has to approach from the other side, and he can win. As Todoroki would just blanket the entire area in ice, freezing Monoma, and ending the battle. Now, Deku versus Bakugo. Ooh, this battle would go very, very fun. Bakugo is looking at Deku, and Deku is looking at Bakugo. These two are facing off. Deku is actually thinking, and he would ask Eri one more question. He would ask her what she looks like, because they still need to figure that out in order to get a proper description on her. If not, at least try and make a missing persons report. She's saying that the best way she can describe it is white hair and a horn with red eyes. Deku's thinking that that's not very much to go off of, especially in this day and age, as Bakugo would actually break Deku's concentration by saying, "What, are you got cold feet already? We haven't even begun fighting, man. Tell you what, how about this? We don't use any of our quirks. We just go physical strength, all or nothing." Deku would just smirk, saying that, "So I'll have to kick your ass the old-fashioned way? Oh, now you've done it." As these two would actually rush toward each other and just start fighting. Aizawa, President Mike's asking if they can even do that. Aizawa would say that they can. The contest never said they had to use their quirks in battle, just they had to fight, and that one person had to essentially win the battle. Now, after that was said, Bakugo and Deku are just punching and punching and punching each other as people are watching their battle. Deku would have actually jumped up into the air, trying to go over Bakugo or trying to go under him, and Bakugo would have just followed up. I knocked my headset off. Bakugo would follow up by just going after Deku. Now, these two are somewhat moving around the arena. If not, they're just they're basically almost welded to one point sometimes, because Deku's always either blocking, or Baku's just firing. Or Deku's just either on the offensive or on the defensive, as he seems to always go for Baku's ankles whenever he can. Which Deku would have actually been able to get Baku off of his footing. He'd be able to kick Baku in the back of his leg and actually just try knocking him out by giving him a chop to the neck. Which Baku wouldn't take this lying down, so he would have actually been able to essentially put all his weight on that knee, actually sliding to the right and grabbing Deku's arm, actually trying to flip him over him. As soon as that happens, Deku actually gets a flash of light as he hits the ground. Now, he's confused because he saw a lamp, or what? As Baku would actually punch him, disorienting him more. Deku would have actually somewhat snapped out of it, as he's still thinking what that was, and Baku immediately would just say that, "Come on, man, I gave you a concussion already," as these two would just go at it. Deku was thinking that if he essentially does that one more time, he might be able to figure things out. So, Deku actually tells Baku that it's time to end this, as Baku would agree. Now, as soon as this happens, Baku would have actually done something similar to what Deku can do. These two would actually start using their quirks in the battle. Because Aizawa just said that they need to use their quirks or they'll both be disqualified. Now, as soon as that was said, Deku actually turns on full cowling and Bakugo turns on his shoe style, which actually surprises Deku. Now, as soon as that happens, Baku is actually throwing explosions, and he's actually developed a somewhat reverse style to what he usually does. He actually uses his hands to somewhat fly himself forward, and sometimes he just goes for kicks, if not punches, because he's constantly would just send an explosion through one limb in his body, actually using the momentum to use either one of his free hands or one of his free legs, as Deku would have actually been able to punch him and rewind him. Now, as soon as Deku actually rewinds him, all anyone sees is Deku and Bakugo for a split second before a large explosion goes off, and people would just see Deku sitting on his ass in the ring, holding a mouse. Now, I am going to be leaving this part off of here, guys, because I'm going to edit all these parts together, and it is probably going to be over 20 minutes. Hopefully, because I'm going to try and get the rest of this video out. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm going to be charging my phone until the next one. Catch you guys later.